coming up next on Disney Channel. I'm kidding with you. Coming up today on Texans Today, we're doing horns up, horns down, and we are looking at Tank Dell replacements. I mean, just an awful, awful injury on a play that, honestly, there's not a blame game for this, but I'm going to blame it a little bit on why is Tank Dell in the game, in the slot, at the 1 yard line? He's not an impact blocker. That's not what he does. That's not his job. Why is he there? Regardless, the news sucks. So everybody, I have Tank Dell in my thoughts and prayers today. I hope surgery goes well for the young man out of H-Town. And everybody's praying that he has a bounce back year next year because he and CJ Stroud together are absolutely electric. So if you could, I know he watches these videos for a fact. So go down and type 3 in the comment section for Tank Dell. It'll make him feel a little bit better going into surgery. That fractured fibula, I know it's a heartbreaker at this point in the season. Go down and type 3 and show some love to Tank Dell. Now, Victory Monday. Texans, a thrilling victory over the Denver Broncos, which, I mean, really shouldn't have been because, let's all be honest, Desmond King, that was a fumble and return for a touchdown. But anyways, the Texans, they prevail. They get the interception at the final moments of the game to keep the lead 22-17. And, I mean, it was just an all-around gutsy victory. The Texans, they've lost heartbreakers this season already. So, being able to finish out a game like this, being able to finish off a team like the Broncos, being able to, get that W, that was a huge, huge win for DeMeco Ryans and staff. A rookie head coach who multiple times this season has had heartbreaking last-second losses. I mean, the doink against the Jags, the last-second touchdown, earlier in the season, it was just, they haven't been able to hold off on these close victories, and now they finally got one. So it puts them back in the playoff race, and now we look at some of the horns up and horns down, who helped the Texans win and who was cheeks, to be honest. First horns up, it has to go to this guy. Nico Collins, almost 200 yards on the day. Absolutely bonkers. Absolutely bonkers, if you ask me. This guy was shredding the Broncos secondary. 9 receptions, 191 yards, a tutty, a long of 59. He was all over this game. His fingerprints were all on this game here. Also, Brevin Jordan stepping up in place of Dalton Schultz. He's been kind of a bust. The kid out of Miami hasn't really shown a lot with the Houston Texans, but yesterday he looked pretty good. 3 receptions, 64 yards. Brevin Jordan, it wasn't like, oh my God, he's the tight end one of the future, but it showed that, hey, he has a place on this team. If it's, a tight end 1, tight end 2, I wouldn't mind bringing Brevin Jordan back, maybe signing him to a, mid-contract, 2 or 3 years. I wouldn't mind that because Brevin Jordan, he's got some talent, he's got some skills, but he showed it yesterday up against the Broncos. Another huge horns up. Did the Texans get it right? Did the Texans get it right drafting Derek Stingley over Sauce Gardner? He's been on fire since coming back from his injury. 2 interceptions, 4 pass breakups, 1 tackle, and he's just insane right now playing in the Houston Texans secondary. 2 picks on this game. Had a pick in his last game as well. Derek Stingley, he is a ball hawk this season for the Houston Texans. I know everybody was worried coming into the year, Derek Stingley, he's not playing as good as Sauce. They took him 1 selection before, but this year, past injury, he's proving a lot of people wrong. Another guy, Will Anderson, and wow. Slow start to the year, but he's making it look like the Texans really, really made a smart move trading up for the kid out of Alabama. 5 tackles, 2 sacks, 4 quarterback hits, and 1 pass breakup. Should have had 3 sacks. Russell Wilson slipped out of one of those sacks in the red zone, but Will Anderson was playing incredibly well on the Houston Texans defensive line yesterday. And the last one, horns up, horns down, it's got to go to Desmond King. I mentioned it earlier. That should have been a touchdown. The forward progress, that was a BS call by the refs. He literally had wrapped him up for not even a second. And I guarantee you, if the running back were to break that tackle and keep on running, they would have not have called forward progress. They would have let him continue on with the play. King may have been the best player for the Texans yesterday. I mean, that scoop and score, he was all over the field. He led the team in tackles. He was everywhere yesterday. Desmond King, I mean, I said it was extremely shocking, and I didn't get why they cut him before the season. Didn't really pan out in Pittsburgh, but I'm extremely glad he's back with the Texans because now he's starting at the nickel spot, and he's playing so well for DeMeco Ryans. He is absolutely making the Texans regret not keeping him throughout the entirety of this season. Now, I have a quick question for everybody at home. This is going to be the pinned comment on today's video. I'm really wondering, who impressed you the most yesterday? Let me know down in the comment section. If you had to pick one person, you're like, hey, this person played the best game for the Texans yesterday. Who is that? I'm really interested to see what you got to say in the comment section. Now, coming up, horns down versus the Broncos. Who really disappointed me? And there's a couple guys who I was less than impressed with. Yesterday up against the Denver Broncos. I'll get to that in just a second. But I couldn't do today's show if it wasn't for our sponsor, Prize Picks. Prize Picks is daily fantasy sports made easy, folks. It's as easy as choosing 2 or more players from any sport, picking more or less on their projected stat types, and then placing your entry. And with a reboot policy, it's the only one on any daily fantasy sports platform. And you're like, what is a reboot policy? It's if one of your players in football or basketball happens to get injured in the first half and does not return in the second, that player is rebooted so you can keep your picks. So if you had Tank Dell more on receptions or more on yards in yesterday's game, he would have been rebooted and your picks would have stayed alive. Here are my picks for Monday Night Football. I'm going with Jake Browning less than 218.5 pass yards, and then Travis Etienne more than 67.5 rush yards. Hey, you can use my picks. You can fade my picks. Just do it with Prize Picks. And they're offering an amazing deal for our watchers today. Go to prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. Once again, Prize Picks is daily fantasy sports made easy, folks. It's as easy as that. Just go down there, prizepicks.com/CLNS. It will be in the comments and the description of today's video. So, now on to horns down. Who really disappointed me in yesterday's game? And this one stings because I was completely wrong before the season saying Dameon Pierce was going to be a top 5 back. He was going to have a breakout season. You know, put on my clown makeup right now because Dameon Pierce was not it yesterday. And ever since he's been back, this Texans run game has regressed. It was so well with Devin Singletary as the lead back. I mean, 2 games of plus 100 yards. And then yesterday, Dameon Pierce, he got the touchdown at the 1 yard line, but 15 carries, 41 yards, and look at this, along a 22. So if you take away that one rush up for 22 yards, what is that? 14 carries for 19 yards? That's less than 2 yards a carry. That's around like 1.3? 1.3 yards a carry. That is atrocious. And I didn't really see it before the season until one of our commenters kind of pointed it out to me, and I've noticed it more and more every time I watch Dameon Pierce play. He is a physical back, but he almost, does not want to take the open hole and wants contact. Like, he'll have an open hole for like 4 or 5 yards, but he's like, no, there's a linebacker there, so let me go hit him for a gain of 2 instead. I don't get it. Dameon Pierce loves to play physical. He loves contact, but almost to his own detriment sometimes. So Dameon Pierce, horns down for yesterday. Another one, horns down for yesterday. It's just overall the blitz pickup for the Texans. I mean, there was multiple times where there was open lanes in the offensive line, missed assignments by the running back, and it put this guy right here, it put him in danger. C.J. Stroud was limping throughout yesterday's game on multiple lapses in blitz pickups. I mean, we're so lucky that Alex Singleton made a bonehead move and, shoved C.J. Stroud after the play, because if that didn't happen, that would have been an easy loss. I mean, it was a false start already, but, that play was awful. And there was multiple times, I mean, P.J. Locke running wide open past the Texans tackle, just not good. So the offensive line, just the whole pass protection scheme needs to be fixed. Bobby Sloak, I hope you're watching this, because that was so hard to watch yesterday with this offense moving down the field and then a loss of 8, a loss of 9. It was just so infuriating. My last horns down, Tavierre Thomas. He's played well. He's played down. It's kind of a roller coaster year for Thomas. But yesterday, I mean, he didn't even get in the game on defense. Thomas, 0 defensive snaps yesterday. 0. He only played on special teams. They went with King over him, which obviously was a good move on their part because he had an outstanding game yesterday. But it really blows. Thomas had that awful game against the Jags last week and then, can't recover from it. He just can't. Thomas, he had a good first couple weeks. Now, you just seen the regression. So, Thomas, he's my last Horns down for the Texans. And now, we're going to get into some Tank Dell replacements. But before we do, don't forget to subscribe to get daily Texans videos 100% for free. Go to subscribe at youtube.com/TexansTV or go hit that sub button underneath the video. We are the fastest growing Texans channel on YouTube. So join the wave today and subscribe. Now, looking at some Tank Dell replacements, I have 2 options for the Texans. Obviously, there's no trades right now. So there's 2 things that DeMeco Ryans, Nick Caserio can look at doing. The first one, I'm going to show you right here. It's the Texans practice squad wide receivers, and more than likely, I think they just promote one of these guys. Steven Sims, he was already promoted to the active roster last week. I think that's the lock of what's going to happen with the wide receiver room. I think they're just going to bring Steven Sims up. But here are the other guys who are available. And also, the other option, free agents. And the reason why I think they're going to go with Steven Sims is none of these guys inspire any confidence that they're going to really, push the Texans forward for their final weeks of this season. I mean, Jarvis Landry, maybe, but no on Kenny Golladay, no on Brian Edwards. T.Y. Hilton, you're old. Go to a retirement home. Quintus Cephas, I mean, okay, but it's suspended. Oh, yeah. I'm completely dumb. Suspended. So that's not even an option. Suspended earlier, but either way, he's not making the team. So Jarvis Landry's really my only option for the Texans right now in free agency. And I don't really think the Texans should do that. I think they should just promote within. They already have a wide receiver 1 in Nico Collins. So it's not like you're looking for a major impact wide receiver. You just need another body that can go in and that can make some plays here and there. So I think it's Steven Sims. But let me know what you think at home. How should the Texans replace Tank Dell? Type PS for practice squad or type FA for free agency? Let me know what you're thinking down in the comment section. Now that's it for today's video. Go and follow me on Twitter at Jeremy Chuggs for the latest Texans news, rumors, NFL memes, the dankest memes on the internet. Go follow me on Twitter. And like I said earlier, make sure to subscribe. We already passed 7,000 subscribers. Now we're going for 8. Do it for Schaub. Do it for Matt Schaub. Let's get to 8,000 subscribers. Until next time, let's go Texans.